independent client altar. This is a kitchen detail, so we're looking at replacement of these cabinets. A couple changes of space. Main thing is once we actually do the design, verify kind of what goes where. Some things to consider. We got a lean-in pantry over here. The client is going to actually be removing that, and we're looking to put a utility pantry here. The important thing about that is that the footprint of that pantry covers this tile area. That would at least be ideal so that they don't have to actually redo the flooring in this area. If it's big enough to cover this area, then they don't have to do anything with the flooring. Same appliance is going to stay. That's new, but that's not a big deal. That's going to be new. That's not a big deal. And then this is going to stay. So we'll talk about the specifics on those. So a couple things. We've got a 30-inch cooktop. That one's also going to stay. We've got the dimensions, or at least where that's located in the room, so we can make sure that we put the cooktop cabinet in the right location. It's the same thing with the wall oven cabinet. Now, what they're looking to do, again, with a wall oven cabinet here in a pantry with pullouts, that's really important to them, is pullouts in this one, is that they're going to actually take this space here and have a local craftsman actually do a live edge countertop. So they're looking to actually bring the countertop from cabinet to cabinet low enough so that it's not in the window area, in order to utilize this kind of room, but not have the table take up so much of the kitchen, because it kind of chokes it off. Behind me is a dining room, and so they have enough space to properly eat. This is just kind of like a breakfast area. Another important thing, this area right here is like a coffee bar. They enjoy having this here. So we are looking at keeping the fridge in the same spot, but this is a benefit to them. We're also looking at some things that are kind of disliked. They don't like this design. We don't see it very much, but if the cooktop has a cabinet like this for pots and pans, great. 2 big drawers is great, but nothing with like a big drawer and little guys like this. Also, this is a blind corner cabinet here. They're looking at either doing a voided corner based on the dimensions, or corner cabinet like a Lazy Susan or Easy Reach, that sort of thing. I would imagine that this one is actually blind here. Yeah, this is blind here. So, because things get lost in that area. One thing they want to change is they want to go ahead and add we're looking at probably a 15-inch, but a pull-out wastebasket, either on the left or on the right, whichever one makes the most sense. I'm having a feeling it's going to go here because of the dishwasher. Because I think, the client said that this drawer doesn't even function properly. So a couple things that are going to be really important to determine in the design process. They're okay with sneaking this over a little bit. One thing to look at is they have this kind of trim detail that comes up here. Now, we already did installed cabinets in the downstairs from another cabinet provider. They like those. It's a Craftsman style, Shaker style white, which is what they're going for. And it's actually Diamond Prelude, which is the brand that they chose down there. So they're really liking that look. We had a cabinet that actually this needed to be trimmed here for it to come to, which we could very well do here. So to get the margin, that could be trimmed and it could be brought to it. They are looking to go ahead and have the cabinets go close to the ceiling. One thing to keep in mind is that when I check the level, so I've got the level in here. When I check the level of the floor based on the available space, so from here as the low spot and here is the high spot, we're looking at a variation of 1 and 1/8 inch. So it's a good amount of variation. We actually experienced the same thing in the downstairs, the basement kitchen that we did. If we did the same thing, I measured from the ceiling down to the laser, same thing here and here, we're getting 1/2 of an inch variation. So we've already talked about going close to the ceiling but not touching. So doing a shadow line. The main thing is getting as much cabinet here as possible and do crown without it actually touching the ceiling. So, but really wanting to utilize as much space as possible. It is 96-inch ceilings here, but they have, let me mention, it's a log home. So these are the exterior walls here. This is interior. To my left, that's interior. They do have, because drywall, there's not drywall meeting drywall, they have this 3/4 inch board meeting the ceiling. And so I measured here, and it's actually 93 3/4 from the floor to the bottom of that. So that's going to be a factor here in our top molding situation that we'll need to work through with the customer. So in the design, or in my actual drawing here, I provided the dimensions that really matter about this guy right here. Essentially, the tile flooring comes 25 inches out from the interior wall, okay? And let me actually just check and see if the interior of that is the same. Yeah, so I'm measuring from the logs itself. So it's 25 inches to here. One thing we can do, either an increased cabinet, increased depth utility cabinet, or we could go ahead and take a utility cabinet and just use flip filler to flush out the toe kick area. So that would be about 3/4 inch material, and then doing a shoe mold on that, and that should make up that inch difference between a 34 inch deep cabinet and so on. The main thing would be the width. We're looking at 27 5/8 from here to, actually I'm measuring from here to here, because that's what matters. So I've subtracted that 3/4. So let's see. Important to point out that our supply lines underneath here are CPVC. All 3 pipes are coming up from the floor. I didn't see any electrical in there, but it's got a lot going on. We do have a junction box in this cabinet here. It's mounted to the interior of the cabinet, so we'll have to just keep in mind we're not doing a normal modification. We're having to actually unhook the electrical and then rewire it after the fact. Okay, so it's not just a standard pull the outlet through the cabinet. Major thing for them here, if we can give them an option to do a microwave in another location, like a base cabinet with a microwave, so like a drawer below and then the microwave here, because they're replacing this, they'd love to have a traditional recirculating hood here, like a decorative hood, that kind of thing. Not necessarily decorative, we haven't talked about wood decorative, but like a recirculating hood here, because they're not going up through. But if they don't do that, if they don't do the microwave somewhere else and this and a hood here, then we're going to be looking at simply doing a brand new microwave, and it's going to be mounted higher up, because right now they can't get a big pot in there, like a big boiling pot, and he'd like to put a pot filler in here, and there's just not enough room. So you can see this one is just really low. So we're going to have to go over those options with them. See if, because the main thing is where else can this go and the kind of space that they have, okay? Obviously one option is in a cabinet above. That's another thing that we can look at with them. The main thing again is where does that make sense in this layout without getting things kind of tight? Because that's what they're feeling right now. It's feeling like it's tight. I'm going to point out right here that we have structural beams here. This is actually 2 inches deep to the wall, okay? This cabinet's really close to the margin there. This one is, I think it's 7 5/8 inch wide here. This one is 5 3/8, and they're in line, so you can see how they run along this beam. They're in plane with each other. It's just this one is deeper than that one. So I've given you the measurement here from this wall to that one. Considering this is 1 inch thick, okay? So I've done the math on that. So really, I'm going to mention this light switch is not a problem if we do an extended depth pantry cabinet, because this actually has to do with the light that's up in there. Seeing as this would all come down to replace with a utility cabinet, he would just completely remove that. So I'm thinking that a 24 inch deep cabinet is our ticket, really, for usable space. But, you know, it's good to play around with those options. Obviously, we've got an outlet down there. Again, that's something that he can move since he's capable of that. All right. I'm trying to think what else. Floors are staying the same in here. He's going to eliminate, we're not going to do a valance. He's going to eliminate this light and do a sconce from the ceiling. It's a 30-inch cooktop. I've got models for our, if you want to pause, model for our counter depth refrigerator, model for our wall oven. Again, I said 30 on this guy. It is a Whirlpool, if that makes any difference. Another factor is you can see how they're using this space up here for storage, like many people do. But it's because that cabinet's not really functional for them. We're gonna look at doing a 24-inch deep cabinet over the top of this guy. Right now this extends about 30 inches. So it's counter depth, but it extends about 30 inches. So a 24-inch deep wall cabinet, height, of course, depending on the wall cabinets we get here. And then, of course, some kind of end panel on either side so that we don't run into crumb situations. The other thing is you look how tight that is right there. They just got this fridge in. Like, in order to get it out, they're gonna have to actually remove this countertop. He actually had to trim this cabinet, wall cabinet here, just to get it in. So end panels are gonna be really valuable. Again, for space, you may be just looking at like a 3/4 inch end panel for function, because it'll all be flush on the side, that sort of thing. But they definitely want a deeper cabinet. So, you know, I mentioned them, keep in mind that this is gonna affect the view into this room. Obviously, this may feel a little bit tighter here with that, but you know, it's gonna be, the functional feature of it is gonna be the most important part. Okay, I don't have an actual measurement for, I've got the center of this in the drawing. I don't know where the gas line is coming through. I will mention that's electric if I haven't already. But if we need to sneak this down to get a wastebasket pull out in this area, that's totally fine with them. I've given you the outlets there. This one over here is right behind the edge of that refrigerator. So again, if we, based on my designs, if we go, drawings, we go with an end panel right there, we'll be fine. If not, scooch it a little bit this way. All right, so that should do it. If you have any questions, give me a call at 615-542-3052. Thank you very much.